This podcast contains content related to child exploitation and criminal investigations. Listener discretion is strongly advised. The views expressed are those of the host and do not represent any official agency. All individuals discussed are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. You think you know who's running the chat room your child is in? The person sending the invites, welcoming new members, the one that's supposed to be keeping things safe. But what if that person isn't another teen? Or a friendly gamer? What if they are the predator? Today we're going to visit a case out of North Carolina. A 24-year-old man who wasn't just participating in an online chat room, he was running it. A space where he was the doorman, where he controlled who came in and what was shared once they were inside. His name was Nicholas Tyler Banks, and this is his story. And the story of how even the moderators of these online spaces can be the ones doing the most harm. Welcome back to Chasing Shadows. I'm Sean Lacy, investigator, digital forensic examiner, and someone who spent years pulling apart the dark corners of the internet to find where the monsters hide. In these episodes, our Shadow Debriefs, we take a closer look at real-world cases that made headlines, breaking them down from a law enforcement perspective and highlighting what parents and communities can take away. Today's case involves a platform like we've talked about. The concepts will sound familiar. We're talking about online chat rooms. These are digital meeting places often built on apps like Kik, Telegram, and they're dangerous because they feel private even when they're not. Let's get to the case. In early 2024, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Western District of North Carolina announced the sentencing of Nicholas Tyler Banks, a 24-year-old from Burnsville. Banks wasn't just another participant in an online chat group. He was what they call an administrator. He was the one controlling access, approving new members, and setting the tone for what happened inside. The chat room that he ran wasn't a gaming server or a study group. It was a dedicated space for trading and distributing child sexual abuse material, what we call CSAM. His role as an admin meant that he was at the center of a small but tightly connected network of offenders. He added new members. He posted and maintained the rules. He shared links to material that had been collected and re-uploaded countless times. Investigators discovered that he managed several groups across multiple platforms, something that we see far too often. Offenders like Nicholas hop between services when one gets shut down, hoping to preserve their audience and their content. When federal agents executed a search warrant at his home, they found the evidence: devices filled with chat logs, thousands of illegal images, and messages where Banks was coaching other members on how to hide their identities and avoid detection. In 2024, he was sentenced to over 15 years in federal prison for distributing child sexual abuse material and for facilitating its spread through his chat room. When most parents hear the word admin, they think of a teacher running a school forum or a student leading a group chat. But in these exploitation networks, the same role, the admin, becomes the gatekeeper of abuse. Offenders like Banks use their authority to recruit and vet new members, sometimes even kids. They distribute material to prove legitimacy, and they require their members to do the same. They collect these files from other users and then distribute them on other platforms, or sometimes back into the same groups. They control conversations and encourage further sharing, with the penalty of being removed from the group if you don't. In my work, I've seen how these admins act like cult leaders. They create rules, assign ranks, demand loyalty. In some cases, they even hold purges, deleting members who they think might be law enforcement who aren't active enough and sharing child sexual abuse material. This structure gives them a sense of power. It feeds their ego and their addiction. And it creates a feedback loop where every user feels part of something secret and protected. But what they don't realize is that these chat rooms are rarely as hidden as they think. They're not quite as anonymous as they hope. Metadata, shared file hashes, IP address, and digital fingerprints all leave trails for law enforcement. And those trails lead right back to the people who think that they are untouchable. Like we talked about in episode number 4, chat rooms themselves aren't illegal. They're tools, just like Discord and Telegram or even the group chats built into online games. But the illusion of privacy they create is where the danger begins. These spaces sometimes promise encryption, anonymity, and shared interest. For predators, that means safety. For kids, it means false trust. Predators use this environment to find like-minded offenders, to build a community of predators. They trade and validate their behavior. They test new recruits and introduce new victims. They discuss and actively groom children when they manage to infiltrate youth communities. Chat rooms are also designed to move fast. Files can be uploaded, deleted, and shared again in seconds. By the time a report reaches law enforcement, the content may have been replicated dozens of times. And admins like Bank keep the system running. They're essentially the infrastructure of exploitation. Now, I've been in these spaces. I've infiltrated these chat rooms. I've seen the traffic of child sexual abuse material being traded quickly and often and in large amounts. I've seen how these conversations are dark. I've seen how in between the jokes and the memes, children are being traded. Their digital images sent so frivolously between predators. They're shared through links, shared through actual files. That's the tone of the entire group. As investigators, we see patterns repeat themselves. We see the admins who want control, the followers who seek validation and find common ground with these people, and the victims who are invited in for attention or stumble in there by accident, who become part of a shared collection traded over and over. What makes these cases so critical is that they expose how modern offenders operate. They're not just lurking, they're organizing. Bank's arrogance was his undoing. He believed encryption would protect him. He believed that the internet was too big for anyone to find him. But what he didn't count on was cooperation between agencies, task force, and cyber analysts who spend their days tracking these patterns, tracking these offenders. The fact that he's now serving over a decade behind bars isn't just a conviction, it's a message. Even when offenders hide behind layers of usernames and VPNs, we can find them. So what does that mean for us as parents? It means that that concept of a chat room isn't outdated. It's just evolving. It's changing. Your child might not be logging into an old school web forum, but they're in group chats every day on Discord and Roblox, Snapchat, or even smaller community apps. Each of those environments function like a chat room with moderators, private channels, and the ability to share content. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Know the platforms. Ask your kids about the apps. Talk about admins and moderators. Explain that not everyone who runs a group can actually be trusted. Not everyone who runs a group has good intentions. Encourage that open dialogue. If your child sees something that's uncomfortable, they should feel like coming to you or reporting it. Monitor the behavior on the apps. Join the apps. Participate in the apps with your children. Education and awareness are your best defenses. The goal isn't to scare your kid away from the internet, it's a necessity. It's just to better prepare them for it. This case out of North Carolina shows us something powerful. Predators don't just participate in these online communities, they construct them. They create the spaces, set the rules, and try to control the narrative. But awareness from parents, from platforms, and from law enforcement, that's what dismantles these systems. If you found value in this debrief, share it, talk about it, use it as a conversation starter with your kids. Because safety starts with awareness, and awareness spreads when we're willing to talk about the shadows. I'm Investigator Sean Lacy, and this was Chasing Shadows, a Shadow Debrief.